a new head coach? And does Michael Bidwill know what he's doing?
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Alex Clancy here. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen. Each and every day, free and available on all platforms. You can follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Numbers are going up, and it's all because of you. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. So there's a couple big things looming behind the eyes of Cardinals fans, media members, employees alike. It's uncertainty. It's, do you still trust Michael Bidwill? It's, are we living the same hamster wheel over and over and over again? Is Kyler Murray really a reason why candidates don't want the Arizona Cardinals head coaching job? There are so many more questions than answers, I think, than you and I both thought there would be on February 3rd, 2023. Kliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim have been gone for a while. And I know that, this is a process. You've got to get the right guy. And you've got to figure out who the best culture and scheme fit is for the Arizona Cardinals for the future. Michael Bidwill can't afford to get this wrong, and he knows it. I'm going to talk about Michael Bidwill under spotlight. I'm going to talk about if this is drama-filled or if this is just people trying to speculate, because that's a lot of what this is. We're not inside the minds of Michael Bidwill and Monti Ossenfort. But first, and this is something that is a fascinating case study in, is Kyler Murray really a problem? Because up until this point, Kliff, in my opinion, was the reason, one of the main reasons, one of the main catalysts as to why the Cardinals have fell flat. And why Kyler Murray plateaued last year before getting hurt with a season-ending injury. I am in the camp still that the national media portrays Kyler Murray in a vastly different way than who he really is, in my opinion. And yes, I'm on that aisle. I think Kliff Kingsbury massively held back Kyler Murray. I think Kliff Kingsbury did the Arizona Cardinals a disservice by not being able to coach up his players or coach his players or be capable of being a leader of men any more so than a guy who's a player's coach who won some games. The Cardinals, in my opinion, were only as good as their talent. And there was no leveling up. There was no elevation of talent. And one of the biggest case studies, the dictionary definition of that was the plateauing of Kyler Murray. Now, is Kyler at fault? He's the one playing. Obviously, there's some fault there. And this isn't a blame game segment. This is, I think it was Tony Pauline who mentioned something to the effect of, and there are other, rumblings about how Kyler Murray is a problem. People don't want to coach him. I think that's a joke. Would you rather coach Kyler Murray or 12 other quarterbacks in the NFL? Like, people don't understand what the alternative to Kyler Murray is. I think Kyler Murray is very misunderstood. I think that, he's demonstrative on the sidelines. Sure, they haven't won a playoff game in 4 years. Absolutely. There is growth in his game that needs to take place. And I also think that Kyler Murray is still one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. So the fact that a head coach candidate would pass on coaching Kyler Murray, especially an offensive-minded guy, give me a break. I don't see that as like it's Kyler Murray. Nope, I'm good. I'll wait. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Because the upside of Kyler Murray, when Kyler Murray's great, it's special. And this isn't like an Uncle Rico thing where it's looking back, back in 82, I could throw a football quarter mile. That's not what we're talking about here. Yes, it's been a while since Kyler Murray strung together great games. Did you watch the Vegas Raiders game? Anybody? He put this team on his back and won that game for them. Sure, there was a scoop and score at the end to clinch in overtime. But to say that Kyler Murray is a reason why the Cardinals don't have a head coaching hire yet, it's definitely not absolute. And I think it's more of a joke than anything. Well, he's got a big contract. You're tied to the guy, 5-year, $180+ million guaranteed, with injury protection there. But that's going to be a steal 2 years from now. I couldn't imagine what Joe Burrow's going to get. Couldn't imagine what Justin Herbert's going to get. I just think that it's unfortunate that there is one thing here, that it's unfortunate that he's out for a good portion of next season, which makes this a little bit more difficult. It's not his fault. Non-contact injury, tore his ACL. But what the Cardinals need, and I'm going to talk about this more in depth in the next segment, they need a culture shift. They need a culture intervention. And the man behind that, the man who needs to make the right choice at head coach, is Michael Bidwill. And unfortunately for him, I'm not so sure how much of the fan base and maybe employees, I don't know, I'm not speaking for people who get paychecks signed by Michael Bidwill, may not have may not have a whole lot of trust in him to make the right choice. And every day that goes by, those thoughts in the back of your head, is this just Michael Bidwill 4, Michael Bidwill 5 in the same saga, just a different movie? I don't know, but I'm going to break it down more in depth next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. LinkedIn Jobs. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by LinkedIn. As a small business owner or hiring manager, you know that success in 2023 all depends on the team members you surround yourself with. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experiences to help you achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools. They go beyond resume data by using insights from your job post, company, and their 875 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates. LinkedIn Jobs makes it easy to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications, all on one platform. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading to better. So LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. This just continues to be, don't let your head go to places that it may not be. Don't let your thoughts go to places that, in situations that may not be happening. We don't know. Maybe Michael Bidwill has exactly the right plan. Maybe he's like, you know what? None of these candidates were fits. They're still looking for it. Maybe they want to interview one of the Eagles coordinators at the end of the season. We don't know. But what I feel like I know is that Kyler Murray is not a main reason why the Cardinals don't have a new head coach. Just like when I would compare Kyler Murray and Kliff Kingsbury, I'll take the guy who's won his entire life. I'll take that guy. You can take the guy who has never won at any level. So you could take the professional football team owner who has run his organization like The Arizona Cardinals have won 10 Super Bowls. Like, don't worry. We got it. We've done this before. I know it's a little rudimentary. I know we do things a little differently here, but look at all the trophies. Ain't there. I'll take Kyler Murray. I'm going to do that. Please like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That was unnecessary. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. So Michael Bidwill under a microscope is a fascinating thing, a fascinating entity to witness, because he has potentially the single most important decision to make since he's become owner of this team. The next head coach hire could completely pivot the history of the Arizona Cardinals from where it was to a positive trajectory, not infused with laughable moves, questionable draft choices, and all in all, more losses than wins. This could shape the future. Look at what Howie Roseman has done in Philly. Check out Gino Camilleri and Louis DiBiase. They do a great job in Locked On Eagles. They've witnessed it firsthand. What 2 off seasons and 2 drafts can do. That's what the Cardinals need. 2 off seasons and 2 drafts. And it started with the GM hire. Good move. Dave Sears brought in. Now, out of the handful of what would be first-time head coaches, Michael Bidwill needs to find the one that's going to pop. Michael Bidwill needs to find the one that's not only a culture fit for the Cardinals, but also a leader of men in a way that can resonate and elevate talent. And we don't know who's going to be the best one. We don't know yet because none of them have been head coaches before. But here's a little lesson for you. At one point, all of the head coaches in the NFL were first-time head coaches. And the owner who hired them got it right. So if it's Lou Anarumo, if it's Brian Callahan, if it's Shane Steichen, who knows? Aaron Glenn, we don't know. You can talk scheme. You can talk, who the person, the man. You can talk about whatever you want. The bottom line is Michael Bidwill has to get it right. And that is such a pressured position to be in, where the future of your entity, what you own, your name on it, hangs in the balance of this decision. Because if you hire the wrong person or the one who doesn't fit this organization and the trajectory for this organization for the next, hopefully, decade, you're never going to have the trust of anybody ever again. And I don't mean to smile. I mean, this is his chance to erase, to Will Smith, 3-Dot Men in Black, to shake the Etch-a-Sketch, to have a full and clean tabula rasa, clean slate for the future. Not only for potential winning for the Cardinals, but also what people see him as. And it's not like, oh, I hope people like me. That's not what I'm talking about. The Arizona Cardinals have an opportunity to truly usher in Arizona Cardinals 2.0. They haven't had this opportunity. Michael Bidwill hasn't had this opportunity. Bruce Arians, it almost would have been better if Bruce Arians never would have been hired and they would have bottomed out. Bruce Arians was a mirage that ended up being water in the middle of the desert. That was a vacuum for a few years. Michael Bidwill and the Arizona Cardinals bottomed out in 2018. And Michael Bidwill decided to run it back with Steve Keim. So now, With all of these names floating about, with Sean Payton choosing Denver, with D'Amico Ryans going back home, as it were, and choosing Houston on a 6-year deal, with Brian Flores interviewing for the DC job with Denver, it's looking more and more like it's going to be a first-time head coach taking over this organization. And Michael Bidwill has zero margin for error. Michael Bidwill has zero failability if he ever wants to change the trajectory of this organization. And that is a wildly pressure-filled position. You kind of feel bad for the guy. And also, this is the bet he made. Should Vance Joseph be the next head coach of the Arizona Cardinals? Alex Lancy, Locked On Cardinals. I will talk about that next. TurboTax. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by TurboTax. Go to TurboTax and don't do your taxes. Meet with an expert who'll do them for you. TurboTax experts can relieve you from the stress of taxes and file for you so you can do not taxes. Show your eyes things that are not taxes. Unpack a moving box of not taxes. Taste not taxes. Sing not taxes a lullaby. Hope not taxes sleep through the night. Grab a saddle and ride not taxes into the sunset. With TurboTax, an expert will do your taxes for you from start to finish, ensuring your taxes are done right, guaranteed, so you can relax. Feel free to, chill, feel good to be done with your taxes. Doesn't it? Doesn't that feel good? Come to TurboTax and don't do your taxes. Visit TurboTax.com to learn more. Intuit TurboTax, full service products only. Video meetings while expert does your taxes required. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Is Kyler Murray a main reason why the Arizona Cardinals don't have a head coach yet? No. Is Michael Bidwill potentially under the most pressure he's been under as the owner since he's taken over? Yes. Should Vance Joseph be the next head coach of the Arizona Cardinals? No. Should Vance Joseph be the next head coach of the Arizona Cardinals? No. And I'm going to group this in with, VJ's been here long enough to where he's an Arizona Cardinal. He's a part of the organization. It would be hiring internally. Just like Quentin Harris and Adrian Wilson, they're a victim of Steve Keim in a way that the Cardinals need such a hard reset that you can't hire from within. They need to go way out of bounds. Now, say they, fired Kliff Kingsbury last year, okay, after the downfall and the playoff game, everything like that. Would you have hired Vance Joseph for a 2-year deal last year? Yeah, last year was a different animal. It was a different beast. It was just different because they were coming off a huge high that massively crashed to the ground, but Vance Joseph was an integral part. I feel like he had more momentum to be head coach last year if they would have, for some reason, fired Kliff Kingsbury instead of extending him at the end of the 2021 season. I think it's too late. If he wants to stay as DC and the market for him to go somewhere else and be DC somewhere else dries up, I have no problem running him back as DC for the Cardinals. I don't. I've been on the Vance Joseph side. I know he's not perfect. He wasn't given a whole lot last year. They completely neglected the defense the entire offseason. What do you expect? What do you expect to happen? The irrational roster building, it's not Vance Joseph's fault. So if you bring him back as DC, sure. The 49ers need a defensive coordinator. I think I saw a rumbling of he may be in line to be the DC at in San Francisco. Here's the thing, really quick. If Vance Joseph goes and becomes defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, that will be, and they thrive, that will be the biggest testament to the ineptitude of Steve Keim. That. Look at what Vance Joseph has between his ears. Look at how good of a defensive mind he is. He just completely neglected the defense. adding talent, replacing talent. And then coupled with Kliff Kingsbury unable to elevate the offense way before Kyler Murray got hurt. We've talked about that ad nauseum. But should Vance Joseph be the next head coach of the Arizona Cardinals? Absolutely not. And it's not his fault. I think VJ's great. But this is the nature of the shaking of the Etch-a-Sketch, the Will Smith light thing from Men in Black. Got to cut it. Got to cut it. Got to erase it. Got to erase ties. And Vance Joseph it's going to be collateral damage. Because if they do lose him, I think it would be a step back in the coach's room. I do. Unfortunately, as I've talked about a bunch, there is going to be clunkiness to this. The Cardinals are going to lose players and lose coaches that if the roster would have been built properly, contracts would have been given properly, wouldn't necessarily have needed to happen. But this is all part of the growth. The Cardinals are a 13-year-old wearing braces right now. Getting their braces tightened once a month. Having to put Clearasil on. It's awkward. It's clunky. Their voice hasn't dropped yet. Going into 7th grade with an image problem. But that could fast forward to being the cool kid at senior year with wearing a Letterman jacket really quickly. One off season can get you your first letter. 2 great off seasons and 2 great drafts. You could be all city. And that's where the Cardinals have the potential to be with the talent they do have on the roster. But first things first, Michael Bidwill needs to find the right guy. Out of all these first-time head coaches, at least one of them is going to pop. You can't hire the next Rod Chudzinski. You can't do that. You can't hire the next Nathaniel Hackett. You can't do it. Because if this goes awry again, you will lose the fan base. It's as simple as that. You're going to have your diehards, sure. He's got to get it right. I don't care if he takes another 2 months. Well, I do, but you'd like to have a new head coach before the draft. I don't care how long it takes. At this point, it doesn't matter. This is very, very similar to their action during free agency when it went fast and furious and the Cardinals did nothing except for extend their head coach and GM who didn't deserve it. That's why it's like Stockholm Syndrome. This feels right. This is what we've experienced. This is where we're comfortable in being uncomfortable with ineptitude and irrational actions and thoughts. It could all change with the next hire, the next draft, and the next free agent, window. It could all change. But the most important thing that Michael Bidwill has ever had to do since taking over as owner of the Arizona Cardinals, get this head coach hire right without a shadow of a doubt. I don't blame you for questioning if he can do it. I don't blame you for thinking all positive, like he's going to get it right. Both are valid. And that's why we're in this blender of what the hell's going on here? We'll see what happens. As of now, the Cardinals are one of very few teams without a head coach. There are more question marks than answers by far than you or I would have thought present at this point. It could change very quickly, but for now, it's a waiting game, and all the power is in the hands of a man who most people don't trust to make the right decision. Let's hope the new era is ushered in, truly, with the Arizona Cardinals 2.0 and Michael Bidwill kicking it off with a home run head coach hire. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I'll talk to you Monday.